What's everybody? Mark here at Kombat Arts with my Sifu, Joey De Los Reyes. So today we're going to have the privilege of sitting down with him and kind of pick his brain a little bit and talk about JKD, where it's at, where it's been, and how he feels it's going. So just want to say thank you very much for allowing me to come here and talk to you.
Glad to be here.
So first thing I want to ask is, with someone as much as your experience is coming from training with somebody that's like Sifu, Larry Hartzell, what was it that attracted you to Jeet Kune Do?
What I liked about Jeet Kune Do was, well, initially first, I had a traditional martial arts background. So I started off in, the usual martial arts of karate and taekwondo. And I remember one time when I was doing karate, that was like, the fad or the flavor of the week in the neighborhood, and we're all kids. What really drawn me to karate was the fact that they had boxing class. They advertised boxing. Like, oh, that's really cool. They had boxing class, right? So I went in there, I was doing karate for a while, and unfortunately I didn't like it as much, right? So I asked the sensei, I go, can I train boxing class? And it's like, no, you wait till you get your black belt before you start in boxing. And I was like, really? And that didn't make any sense to me at all. Like, come on, like, I have to wait all these years to get my black belt in karate before I actually do boxing. So then I went off to study boxing on my own. And I liked the physical contact. I was doing boxing in the Filipino martial arts. And of course, that naturally drew me to basically Bruce Lee. And I like Bruce Lee's philosophy, the Jeet Kune Do philosophy, about how you investigate other martial arts to add it to your own. And I love martial arts. I like, training different martial arts. I go, that really appeals to me. So then I did my diligence, and all of a sudden one day, someone was like, whatever you think you attract, ta-da, some Jeet Kune Do Muay Thai college school opened up in my neighborhood. And I was like the first or second person to join. And I paid for my friend to join too, because I don't want to go by myself, I'm scared. So I paid for my month and his month too at the same time. So that's how it actually started for me.
So that's really cool. So from when you started then and you started training, what do you find was one of the major differences in training Jeet Kune Do in that time period with those people such as like Sifu, Larry Hartzell? What do you find the differences from training Jeet Kune Do in that era as opposed to the way it's being taught or expressed now?
Like the way it was actually like taught a long time ago, or the way they trained a long time ago, was there's two approaches. So there's the eclectic approach, and there's more the progressive approach. And the way that I was taught it was mainly a progressive approach. But we weren't, let me see how to explain this. I wasn't taught that in the beginning. It was kind of like you had to find it out on your own. So eclectically means that you would study a little bit of taekwondo, you take the kicks from that, that's pretty cool. You did boxing for a couple of weeks, you take the boxing punches and go, add that to your repertoire. You learn one wrestling takedown. And that's how we were initially taught, because nobody really knew better, right? It wasn't really translated that we should be training it the progressive way, and I'll get to that in a few seconds. But it was take a little bit of these martial arts and add it to your own, and ta-da, you're a Jeet Kune Do practitioner. So we thought we're the baddest asses martial artists out there in the world. But we know everything, we can kill everyone, yada yada yada. And then I remember I was like, we'll see if I can do this. So I went out, I trained with a boxing coach, and I got killed. And I went to go train in American kickboxing, and I got beat up. And I was like, wow, I know a lot of stuff, but I don't know it really, really well, in depth. Which brings me back to the progressive part of Jeet Kune Do, which is the way we're supposed to learn it. Study it in depth, be one with it, right? It's like going to a buffet or go to a Vietnamese restaurant. Go to a Vietnamese restaurant, eat everything, understand the culture, how they sit, what they drink with it, etc., etc. Take what meals you like from it. Go to a Thai restaurant, do the same thing, observe the culture. Not to say you don't revisit those restaurants later on to see if there's anything to add to your repertoire, but that's what you want to basically do. That's how Jeet Kune Do is supposed to be, taught and trained a long time ago, progressively. Spend some time in the martial arts. And then once you think you have the essence of it and you gain as much as you want, move on to another martial arts and add to it. That's how we actually train it. Nowadays, unfortunately, I find that we're actually going back to almost eclectic. Like we're not actually being progressive with our Jeet Kune Do. It's unfortunate we seem to be regressing back to the old style where it's basically, let's stick with the Wing Chun stuff. Let's not explore other stuff and add it to our martial arts. So the way I was taught it, and indirectly, so to speak, was to be a progressive Jeet Kune Do enthusiast.
Right. So that kind of brings me to my next question, because me myself, just from my own experiences in training with different people and different sects, I do find that it's very much true what you're saying. And one of the things that made me actually, for those who don't know, this is my very first Jeet Kune Do instructor. What made me stick with it, maybe I liked it, is you did show me the trapping, but you showed me in a way that was very progressive. It was very modern. It was very just very simple and applicable. And it was because of someone who had, again, like you're saying, in-depth knowledge of boxing, Muay Thai, and stuff like this, So you're not just training Wing Chun for somebody who's going to do Wing Chun back. You're training Wing Chun or trapping hands for somebody who's not going to do it back.
For sure.
And having to adapt and cultivate it that way is going to make it much more realistic and applicable.
Right.
However, that being said, I find that there kind of tends to be like two major general camps, and it's the ones that are really good with the kickboxing portion or the grappling portion, and they're really not proficient or understanding what trapping is about.
Right.
And then you have the ones who kind of just do the trapping, but they're really not efficient and have no real footwork or anything with regards to kickboxing and grappling. And so I think there kind of has these two people. You know, they're having false ideas of what they're actually able to do.
Right.
And why do you think that's kind of branched off into those areas?
You know, like we were discussing one time ago, different people take martial arts for different reasons, right? So like, you know, there's a physical aspect of training, there's a cultural aspect, some people want confidence, self-defense, whatever, right? And I think like to a certain degree, there's one group, right, that love basically Bruce Lee and they want to follow that path, right? And they love everything about Bruce Lee, what he ate for breakfast, what his underwear was like, yada yada yada. They know everything about Bruce Lee,
like
right?
The Star Trek.
Yeah, the Star Trek fans. I'm sorry to say it, but like they're the martial arts nerds of our industry, right? And they're awesome too, right? So they come in, they want to like train in one particular way and everything, and they're not really keen to do it the athletic way. Whereas if you look at Bruce Lee, he's the one that brought in boxing, brought in fencing full-work, the idea of hitting focus mitts, training to music, training athletically, well before it became the norm, right? So it's kind of like interesting that those guys have decided to go along that traditional path, whereas you look at my interpretation of Jeet Kune Do and the way it's been taught to me is that it's a progressive state. It's always like moving, it's always flowing, it's always changing. So yeah, you have one particular group that love the culture aspect of it, and they kind of like want to stick with that aspect of it. They never want to progress, they never want to change. And then you find the other guys who I think maybe progressively they did try the other martial arts like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they tried boxing, they tried Muay Thai, and in the back of their head they're like, wow, this is really cool, I want to add this to my Jeet Kune Do, but they didn't spend enough time appreciating the trapping. Maybe it's on due diligence to an instructor, maybe they found new love in boxing, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they go, listen, I want to pursue this path on my own, right? I think trapping is kind of like not really useful, I hate to say that, right? Or they never trained it in those particular martial arts. So, but I think, to be honest, Mark, those things, it's coming full circle, slowly and surely, because you do see trapping in boxing, you do see trapping in jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. So I think there's going to be a time, especially with instructors like you, where you're going to bring it full circle, where you're going to see both arts, like the trapping and the athletic martial arts, like they call it, being trained equally.
Do you think it's because personally, I feel like because of things like, when Jiu-Jitsu hit the scene in 1993 and things like this, and just the physical benefits you get off hitting pads, and you start to see your body transform in a short period of time, which is very rewarding and very motivating to keep the person coming back. You don't really get that in Mississauga and things like this.
Right.
So I think, I'm not sure how you stand on it, but I feel like as necessity to survive and stay relevant, that JKD has kind of thrown the trapping aside just to kind of still be something that's recognized and still would want to attract people. Would you say that's kind of...
You know what, that could be part of it too, and I do have to say, I partially agree with you because, like, again, some people take martial arts for different reasons, and like fitness. And unfortunately, we talk about this quite a bit, some people pursue martial arts almost as equal as like a weightlifting program. Meaning they step into the class, they want to get a good workout, they don't really care about the nuance of the technique, what the culture behind it. They want to get a really good workout and get out. And I don't know if that's basically how our society's changing. They look at martial arts more like a fitness workout. Right. They don't look at it as a way or as a path, right? And they also, if you're training in things like Muay Thai and boxing, like you said, you can get immediate feedback on what's going on. You're hitting something, you're sweating, you're getting a great workout, your abs are looking sexy, yada, 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 yada. Whereas sometimes you're doing trapping, you're like, dude, I don't think my abs are getting sexy doing this way, and you don't really see the physical benefits of that kind of training.
And I know as a person teaching Jeet Kune Do, especially in a gym like Kombat Arts, whereas you have, you got a lot of monsters here, you got people who are competing and stuff like this. I know it's challenging sometimes to have that kind of environment and energy around you, and here you are doing the exact opposite.
Right, antithesis it seems to be, yeah.
However, I do get some satisfaction when some guys, who are in the class who do compete, have done some fighting, they're able to come back and say, hey, I've used this in my Muay Thai, I've used this in this.
Exactly.
Which brings me to my question. Do you think trapping is relevant and is an effective tool?
Yeah, I do think trapping is relevant and an effective tool. It depends on how it's taught and how it's trained. And I think that's really important. So first of all, you need the foundation. You need to learn the alphabet. If you don't know the alphabet, you can't make words, you can't make sentences, punctuations, paragraphs, stories, etc., right? Same thing with martial arts. Even though this may seem like really boring, you need that basic foundation. All right, and then after that, we could start to break the nucleus. We move away from the nucleus, and then we could start basically working from kickboxing range against an athletic resisting opponent. But you need to start somewhere. It's akin to basically hitting the bag. You're punching the bag or you're doing your techniques in front of the mirror. You need a basic foundation. I wouldn't sit there and go, okay, put these gloves on, let's get in the ring and let's teach you by osmosis, by getting punched in the face, right? So definitely for sure, I think what people don't appreciate is the basic foundation. They go, I want to see how it works now. Show me how I can make it relevant right now. And that's the unfortunate thing. And again, maybe it's because our society, they want things like that instantaneously, that gratification of having those sexy abs, so to speak, right?
Right, it's that Western society mentality. But also, going back to something Professor Slim Sealy said to me once, he's like, if you take a traditional martial art, you can take anybody and make them into a fighter within a few months and train them. As long as they commit, you can get them ready to do a bout. They say if you take a martial artist, a traditional martial artist, and you turn him into a fighter, you get a different animal.
For sure.
So, and you see guys like Leon Machida and GSP and stuff like that. People who come from a very traditional background have that as a nice base, a nice foundation, nice root, and then transition them into something that's much more transcend further than that. They kind of do have. They're just a different flavor, a different aura to them in the way they fight and the way they move and the way they think.
Right, and not only that too. I want to add on 2 points there. So also what I think why trapping is so relevant. When I think about trapping, I think about the particular range, the clinch range, right? And if you can control the clinch range or trapping range, whatever it is in your lexicon, basically, you can control the whole fight. So if you're a stand-up guy and you don't want to go down to the ground, you need to understand the clinch range and trapping and stuff like that. On the other side of the coin, if you're a grappler and you want to take the fight down to the ground, you better have an idea of how trapping and grappling works. So to me, especially in self-defense world, right, you need to understand that, how that trapping and grappling stuff works. That's stand-up grappling I'm talking about, right? If you don't have that, you're done. Yeah. You can't control the fight, and that's the toughest thing there.
It's an area in the fight that will happen.
Right, exactly. And you can't. And also too, if you're doing this stuff for self-defense, you have a clear advantage when you step into someone's personal space because they're totally uncomfortable.
You smother them.
Yeah, and you can get control of them. That's why arts that practice to some degree trapping, like a judo, you look at Muay Thai, they have a clear advantage, or even hand trapping and boxing. They have a clear advantage once they close that gap.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. So, and my last question I want to get to before we wrap it up is, given the timeline since Bruce Lee has passed and the things that have happened and evolved in martial arts, such as Colorado 1993, the Gracies come on the scene, jiu-jitsu blows up, you have people from different sizes trying different arts, and they really got to see what really worked and what didn't work. How do you think he would have affected that had he been alive to see that? Do you think he would have been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and really being an enthusiast of that? Kind of like how you see Guru Dan and Jado, they're kind of exchanging. And what do you think he would have given back had he had stayed alive? And how do you think he would have affected something like as a sport or a gaming industry like MMA?
Right. So then I personally thinking for sure, I think he would have added Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to his Jeet Kune Do philosophy. But I don't think, for me personally, I don't think it'd be present day Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It'd be back in the day Colorado Jiu-Jitsu, where I found that the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu back then, those guys are crazy. They wanted to use the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu against other arts. They did dojo stormings, and they wanted to impose their will upon other martial artists. But our martial arts is the best.
Put the stamp down.
Yeah, put the stamp down, right? I think that martial arts, that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu back then is what I like. It's the most effective one, where you just took the guy down to the ground and you did whatever to him, you finished him, right? I think, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu nowadays is a little bit different because in order for it to survive, it's turned into kind of a sport, which is understandable. It's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu versus Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I don't think that's the kind of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that Bruce Lee would like. Because also have to talk about whittling down access motion, making it more economical. And to me, a lot of stuff that we do in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not really efficient when it comes to fighting, when it comes to combat, right? And I think we've kind of forgotten about that kind of stuff. I think he also would have added a lot of different things we talked about Muay Thai. I don't think he was a big advocate of the Muay Thai kick, but I think he would have added it more now to his game. And then we talked about sports science, sure, looking beyond the physical techniques of martial arts, what actually happens to you in combat, what are the physiological changes that happen to you in combat, what are the different exercise methodologies, the mindset stuff. I think definitely for sure he would have like been, especially as we get older, this goes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, my body's gonna go. You know what I mean? Like sooner or later, rust is gonna take over, and I can't move as fast, I can't move as quickly. So what is he gonna do? He's gonna cultivate basically his brain. He's gonna make his brain even sharper and quicker. So I think he'll be looking at that other aspect of the training and bring it to his game.
Anyway, guys, some great information here. For those who don't know, Kombat Arts was founded on Jeet Kune Do. The whole aura you get in here when you walk in here, this amazing facility. There's no walls, there's no nothing. You walk down and you're literally you're walking past culture, tradition, and different martial arts, and it's all under one roof. There's not many places like it. Definitely come down and check out Kombat Arts Mississauga, and also the JKD on Tuesdays at 7 and Saturdays at 12 p.m. Thank you so much, Sifu Joey.
No problem.
JKD still around? We'll check it out.
For sure. And then one more thing, guys. Like I talk about basically the progression of Jeet Kune Do. I've seen it go through its different cycles and everything. I think Mark's an awesome Jeet Kune Do instructor, and he's representative of the new Jeet Kune Do era, because basically, like, my philosophy, and I think Mark has a similar philosophy, is that definitely for sure you want to explore all these different martial arts, and whether you're willing to add it to your Jeet Kune Do philosophy, yes or no, at least you know how to deal with it, right? And Mark is being able to actually study all these different martial arts and add it to his game, making his students informed, very knowledgeable, and also very athletic. Can he actually do this stuff in real time? And I think he's a new generation of Jeet Kune Do instructors out there.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Appreciate it. All right, guys. Take care. Until next time.